Okay, so we now have our description and it's looking pretty decently good. We next need to get an editing priority. A priority can be an A, B, or C. It's just going to be basic character. Although it is a string, we're going to need to, let's see, to display it out, I'm thinking a select box for it. We're still going to need a label, but I don't know exactly what's going to go inside of that. Select boxes are always going to be interesting because you have like the actual select and then you have options inside of it. Let's go ahead and just start creating and see what we end up getting into. So back to our solution, let's create a bb. I'm just going to call it a bbselect. We don't need this open right now. Okay, I'm gonna do a use Yew prelude. We're gonna have. We're not gonna need Yew.ducks or Yew.router. We're gonna be creating a style component. It's gonna be select. We are gonna have properties. So properties, clone, and partial equal. Okay, so for these properties, we know we're going to need the data-test. We know we're going to need a label, which means also an ID. Let's see, so we have a data test, we have an ID, we have a label. We're going to have some kind of options for these too. So this should probably be a vector of something, probably strings. And I'm wondering here because what we display isn't always necessarily exactly what we want to use as the value. So maybe this should be, we should probably create a an option struct here that's going to have like the value and the like the display. Okay. But I can't really call it option because we already have something called an option. It's not going to be an enum too. So let's do pubstruct. What are we going to call this? Probably a select option. Now this is going to go inside of here. So a select option. That means you're going to need to implement clone and partial equal. So not that. Derive, clone, and partial equal. Okay, so having a value, now we're going to want you, and then we have something to like display, like how we want this to, it's probably like the label of it. So pub label, that's also a string. Now we could have this be default, like an option, and if for some reason you don't give us a label, we use the value. But for right now, let's just make this required and sort of like see how it feels at the end. Okay, so we have our options. Let's go ahead and start building this out, and we'll just sort of like see how it feels. So we have our props. Okay, so first up are styles. Okay, and then we know we're gonna need to grab out, let's see, our data test. We can grab these out directly and the ID directly. That should be fine. Label we can grab out. Options we'll grab in a little bit. Okay, so I don't need to grab any of those out right this second. Just go straight to our HTML macro. I'm gonna wrap this all in a big div. So that way we can have our label here. And we're gonna have a for equals, and this is gonna be a props.id, and we'll clone you because we need that multiple times. Okay, don't need anything else in here, but we are gonna have the label itself. So reference to props.label and label, okay? And then next up is gonna be our select box. So we're gonna have select. Now for this, we're gonna have our ID. Props.id, and we're gonna clone you. I'm not necessarily sure what else we need inside of select. Oh, we're gonna have a we're gonna need to take in some kind of like on change. So, ooh, I don't remember what exactly it is. Let's hold off on like putting that into properties until we sort of like understand what our event is. I can never remember if it's on change or if there's like a different one for select boxes, like on select or something like that. I want to say it's going to be on change though. Okay, so we have select ID. This closes. We have a close select here. And then we're going to have some option tags. So if I just create an option, as it were. So let's do an option. I think it would be something like we have value equals, let's do like, I don't know, 1. Then we'd have how it displays, and we close the option tag. So if I do that 2 more times, okay, that gives us our HTML. That should be pretty simple. There's going to be a lot of this styling to do here. So we'll see how that feels later. Let's also like not, well, options, we can give it just an empty vector and that'll be fine for right now. The ID label and data test is going to be fine to have. Okay, so perfect. Let's head back to mod. Do we give you, yeah, we gave you a select. Head back to our edit task page. Okay, so create components, atoms, bbselect, bbselect. And let's add you in right below here. Now, remembering exactly how this is going to work, okay, so we have our data test. Looking at Cypress, this is editing dash priority. Okay, so we're going to have our ID. Probably going to do the same thing as the other one, right? We're going to use just do another format. This is going to be our priority dash set ID. Okay, still missing some stuff. We have our label. This is going to be, I guess, priority. And options. Let's just set this as an empty vector for right now. Okay, so no errors. And when we come and look at this, here is our drop-down select box. So we have 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, it's very interesting. It chose 3 as the default one right off the bat. So that's a little bit interesting. So to change that, we're going to need a value. So I would set that as maybe in the select box here. We have like value equals, if I set this as like 1, now that should set our priority here to, well, I was expecting it to set it to 1, but that didn't like that. I have no errors here. And no errors in our trunk build. So let's dig into this a little bit. You did get saved. What if I set you as value is 1 instead of this? If we need to, we'll also go take a look at what the documentation for select boxes are. It's the type of thing that I don't usually go and use too often. So you're not happy here either. So let's go see if we can find out how that works. We're gonna do an MDN select. Okay, so we have the select forward. That's all gonna be fine. We have our select. Okay, so we have a name, an ID. No default here. Interesting. Okay, so they have like a value equals with nothing in it. And then this is going to be the sort of like the default one. I think we're going to have everything have like just start with like maybe A as the priority so that we're not going to need this necessarily. Each option needs to have a value attribute. You can include a selected attribute on an option element to make it selected by default when a page first loads. Okay, so we want you to have selected like that. Except we need to set it to be true. So set you to be true there. Now we don't need a value to be set, right, like necessarily. Okay, there we are. Now we have 1. That's great. What if, however, we have like 1, but 2 is selected? Like our task default might be something like A, but we have later on changed our priority to C. So I want to like use 3 here. So if selected is not true, do I need to now, I guess what we're going to have to do is use this in some kind of like method to know what our which one to have be true or false. I think that's what we're going to have to do for this one. Okay, so I think we're getting closer and closer. Let's also figure out an OnChange for this. Do you have the methods? We have everything we can do here. I don't want this to be multiple selects. I don't think that multiple selects is very easy to work with. Doesn't really have a lot of styling stuff. I don't see any events necessarily. Oh, here it is. They're doing an on click. More on clicks. There's some add event listeners, but still for more clicks. And then they're doing the on submit and changing that way. I don't like to use the on click because, like, what if somebody is not using a mouse for that? What if they're using like a keyboard or something else? Let's try an on change and see if that works. So we're going to do a let change equals, we're going to create a callback. We have an event, which we do know is a type event for just on change. Although I suppose, we can wait. We're gonna get our value equals, okay, so we have, let's I guess use it first. Select. Okay, value is going to be this event. We go to target, unwrap. It's very unhappy. Type annotations needed. Okay, so I think this is just type event. Okay, event target. So unwrap, and then I want to, once I have this, we want to do the unchecked into. Unchecked into. We're going to tell it to be a select. This is select option. That's my own thing. How about HTML? HTML base, HTML element, HTML head, HTML input element. It's not really an input, is it? Because select is its own thing. So I think we need to head over to WebSys and go see if they have a specific select element, because I'm not seeing it here. And maybe it's a different feature we need to enable. So let's head on over to Creates and go to WebSys. And specifically, we're going to look for select. Okay, so there's HTML input element select. That's a select method on input element. That's not exactly what I want. I almost want HTML select. There we go. HTML select element. Aha, it does need a different feature. It needs the HTML select element feature. Well, it's been a while since we've added a new feature. Let's go ahead and go to cargo.toml. And for WebSys, we're going to add that in. Let Rust Analyzer do its thing. Not done yet, but this is going to, we know it's going to be an HTML select element. I thought it was done for a second. Okay, I think it's done now. So this is going to be HTML select. Can you find it? maybe. We can also, there it is. Okay, HTML select element. Wait a second. HTML select element. So we're going to unchecked into, and then we're going to get the value of that. Okay, and so let's, okay, so so far that makes me happy here. Let's do a console log. Not canceling that. Want to control dot that. Good. Console log our value. Okay, everything rebuilt just fine. So if I change you, aha, okay, that becomes 3. Now notice it's the lowercase 3. So that is telling me that it's the value that is being brought out. So we have the difference between the things that's being displayed and the actual value. And so if I change these, now if I just do up arrows 2, that also works. So that's kind of what I didn't want to use click handlers for this one. I wanted to do actual value changes. Okay, great. Which also lets me know these are strings, the same thing we're going to have come in here for a value. So we're now going to have a pub on change. This is going to be a callback with a string inside. Let's now handle this here. So props on change equals props dot on change. Go ahead and move that in here. And instead of a log, we're going to do a props on change, emit, and that value. Okay, great. So now we're going to emit this out. Our edit task is a little bit upset at us because we don't have that on change. So let's go ahead and fix that really quickly. So here's our description. I'm trying to keep all the on changes together because later on when we update them to go into like internal state, like a use state, that's going to kind of be important for us. So that's be a priority change callback from. Now in this case, we are going to be getting the new priority, which is going to be a string. I don't have to tell it that. It's going to figure that out. We're going to go back and just do our normal log right now. Okay, so there should be no difference. Everything should still be the same. And we should still see this logging out when we change them. Okay, great. Now, we have these options. I want to dynamically create them from the tasks that are sent into us. Now we know that our priority options, our choices of priorities are just a one, like sorry, A, B, and C. And our task is just one of those things. It's going to be a string. I guess it's going to be is it going to be an option string? I think it's going to be a string that's coming in. We go into our store. Here's our task. Our priority is an option string, but I was thinking about it. I don't actually think that our priority can be an option. I think that this is required in the database, and it's going to be set to one of them. I believe so. This should be fairly easiest for us to work around too. We can also do a default of like A. when we're setting it, or if like for some reason it doesn't have it, we'll just give them one anyways. I think that'll work. But okay, so we have our task. In here, we now need to have a vector of those like select options. And given a task here, this is starting to get messy enough that I think it's about time for us to figure this thing out. Now this task does have default on it, so we can call default on the entire task, which means if we have an unwrap on this, we can do an unwrap or default and it will be fine. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. So let's try this. Okay, so we have this use store unwrapper default. What if I put another unwrapper default right here? So unwrapper default from the store, and then another one to get us this task. Now, I don't necessarily need to grab you out at all. We just have task that has the information. Okay, so we need to potentially grab stuff out of here. So we have, because we're gonna have some things that are upset. Okay, so like task title. So this is gonna be task.title. Task dot description. Now this could be a none, can't it? This doesn't seem to be upset about that. So perhaps it would use the default already. Let's see how that works. No more errors. Let's okay, everything is still happy here. For our bbselect, I now want for my options, let's create a function sort of to create these. So function create priority options. We're gonna take in a task. I guess like we need to create the current we know what the possible options are. We can just set that here, and we need to know what the current option is, which we could just take the entire task in, which is going to be a reference to the task. And we're going to return a vec of select option. Okay, so we know we're going to have like that A, B, and C, and that's just A, B, and C. We could hard code this as just like 3 different ones. We could do like a little loop where we create like just a little vector of like A, B, and C of like maybe the defaults, and then just sort of like go through them and update. Let's see. Yeah, because we have 3 values. So let's try doing like one on its own right now. And we'll see how this feels. So we have let's say A, right? Let's do our select options is going to be a new vector. Inside of that, we're going to have a select option. We're going to have, okay, so it's going to be the label and the value. So label is going to be A. And value is going to be A, like that. Well, it might end up being a capital A anyways also. Something I'm noticing here though is we're going to need to know which one it actually is, right? Like, is it selected or not? That's kind of going to be important. So I need to come back into our bbselect, and we're going to add in a is selected. and you're going to be a Boolean. I'm also like, this is not that fun to write out. So I'm thinking of creating an impl for this with a little bit of a constructor here. So we're going to take a new, we'll take in the value, which is a stir, the label, which is a stir, and the is selected, which is a Boolean, and we're returning a self, and we'll just do self value, value to owned, label is label to owned, and is selected is its own thing. That will make it a little bit easier here. Okay, so let's try this again. We have select option, new. Okay, so value. So let's say we're just doing this like with a, and true, and I can copy this a couple more times. So you become B and C, and you become false. You are upset. Can I find task in the scope? Oh, I have to actually bring in that task type from the store. And I have to bring in this type too. No, it's just yelling at me because I haven't actually returned it. Never mind. We'll return the select options. And you take in those select options here. So create priority options. And we're going to pass in a reference to task. Oh, we've already partially removed. So description. Right. Okay. So we can actually just do the priority here. So let's just take in a stir, and we're going to do task.priority. There we go. A reference to task.priority. Found, oh, because it's an option. Right. Okay. So how do I want to do this? We can give ownership to you. This will be an option with a string inside. We're not using this yet, so we'll be getting there. Okay, so back to you. Now we have our selected options. We need to create these dynamically, keeping this like selected in mind. So now we're going to have a function over here, which is going to be create option like tag. Yeah, we're going to create the option tag. We're going to take in this selected option, or select options, which we can take ownership for this. I think that's fine. Specifically, you're a vector of them. And we're going to return HTML. Okay, so same thing that we did before with the individual sort of like tasks, like the task links. For each of these, we're going to loop through and create something. So like put something in there. Okay, so that should be. Let's see. Think about this. We want. Oh, this is gonna be a vector of HTML. A vec of HTML. Because then we can just put that in here and it'll be fine. Okay, so we have, we can map through our select options potentially and sort of like just change them. Let's try that. So we're going to take our select options. We have to turn into an iterator. Then map. We have our function, which is going to be a select option singular. Okay, now we're going to create HTML. And specifically inside of here, it's going to be one of these option tags. So we know we're going to do option. We have a value. That value is now going to be a select option dot value. Okay. Then, selected. It's going to equal to select option dot selected. It is selected. Let's multi-line this. Okay, is selected. That's the end of this. So we close Yew. We then have the actual label itself. So select option dot label. And we close the option. Okay. Mismatch types. Okay, we have a map now and we're trying to return that. So I need to collect this together into a vector of HTML. You are kind of happy. You don't want me to move you out, right? Yeah, cannot move out of this value. Let's go ahead and just clone this. And we'll do, let's see, can I do a reference to, I don't know if I can because it's inside the loop. Oh, it's happy about that. Okay, great. Then we have our create option tag. So now for each of these, we're going to create option tag and call, we're going to pass it props dot, what do we call it? Options. So options. Okay, let's see how it likes that. Do you need to be cloned? Cannot move out. Yes. Okay, so you need to be cloned. Or I need to like reference you. Let's try cloning first. Head back into here, and now we see we have priority A, B, and C, and that's all set up for us. Now, if we go back to our main to-do, this one I believe is priority B. There, we see that. And, ooh, that one does not have the Boolean set properly. Let's see what we're getting from these. Okay, the selected is always on value A, so that's a problem here. So we have is selected here. I was kind of hoping that selected would just like stay on. It's not what we're getting though. It's just on value option A. Oh wait, that's because we set it up always on here. Okay, never mind. That's the reason why. So now we need you to be dynamic based upon what this task is. So if that's the only thing we care about, if it's this A, we're going to update you. Okay. If it's a B, if it's a C. Okay. So it's almost like we want to do task dot priority. Let's actually grab the priority out here first. So that current priority is equal to task dot priority. Oh, it's an unwrap. Okay. So task dot kind of want to do an unwrap or, but I might want to do like a match on this. And okay, we're already getting this priority here. So let's do an unwrap or, and then I can give it some value of what I want it to be. So unwrap or, the default is going to be an A. Just do an into on this. So now it's either going to be like A, B, or C, or A if it doesn't exist to begin with. And now we can say I want that A is equal to a reference of priority. I want to take this exact same thing, and we're just going to change you to B and C. Let's see how this works. You're happy. Oh hey, you're automatically priority B now. So if I head back to the first one, priority A, priority B. Okay, so that's working now. So we now have priority hitting us in the exact way that we want this to. Let's maybe work on like making this the same size. Getting a little bit of the styling options working because we already know we have the switching happening. So that's excellent. Let's see, what else do we need to do? In our bbselect, we're going to, on this div, class equals style sheets. We have the bb text input. We want to take this label and throw you in there. So that'll at least make the label a little bit bigger. And then what do we have options wise for this? There was the entire MDN for like what styling options we have. Let's see what we can do right now for this. If I just do like take this input, but we customize it for a select. Okay, not bad. We have an ABC. It's huge, but it's very familiar to everything else. So that's good. So now we can switch all these, and that all seems to work. And I can use my arrow keys, and that all works too. I can also select using a keyboard and just sort of going straight to the one I want to. Excellent. So that is now priority being set, which means we can go back to Cypress and rerun these tests specifically and see if we can get that to the next phase. Let's see. Okay, so it got data test, editing priority. Okay, so it failed to get that. Did we set the data dash test on that correctly? We are bringing in, let's see, bbselect. We have our data underscore test. Oh, we're not doing that at all. Okay, so let's multi-line this. So data test equals props dot data test, and we'll clone you out. Okay, that should make it a little bit happier. There is a trick we can do. I just haven't been doing it yet, but we're getting far enough into our tests that'll make it a little bit nicer for us. I have another VS Code open for just like the entire repo. I'm going to go in and find our tests. So that's integration tests, front end, Cypress, integration to-do spec. Here they all are. And it should be editable, and it's specifically, okay, should be editable in test body, get data test editing priority. So should be editable. I'm going to put a dot only on this. That's going to now just only run this should be editable, which can be a little bit faster to sort of like go through everything. Okay, so now we have our priority sitting here. And okay, great. Now it's trying to get completed, which is going to be a checkbox. That's going to be another whole big thing. So I'm trying to keep these recordings a little bit shorter. So we're going to take care of that in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye.